So it's time for you to make money in a fun and creative way. In this video, I'm going to go through 7 ideas that I have for creative side hustles or small businesses that you can use in a way which will be fun. It'll really help you hone into whatever creative passion that you have, and they're adaptable, they're fun, they're pretty great. So my name's Alex. I'm a full-time videographer, photographer, and all-round creative working for an advertising company. And I do a lot of different side hustles alongside too. The first side hustle / small business idea that I've got here for this video is digital products. Now, I've done digital products in the past. They're normally, if you can get the business going, normally on like an Etsy page or something, it's pretty reliable. You only have to create it once and then it can be passive income for the rest of the time that the shop is open. So for example, I've done football posters before and football graphics before for different Premier League clubs. I've sold them as posters individually per player, and that just goes out as passive income. As soon as I've made the product, it's all digital. So as soon as the person buys the product, it then gets sent as an email to them, and then they print it off themselves. It means I don't have to worry about printing. I don't have to worry about sourcing any printers. I don't have to pay for that. I don't have to worry about shipping costs or anything. It's all just make the product, put it on Etsy. If people like it, they buy it, and then they can deal with it after they've sorted it, kind of thing. It's pretty good. So some examples that I've got there, other than the example that I gave before, being the graphics, I've seen people do sort of like templates. I've seen people make sort of templates for invitation cards, templates for planning and diary entries, sort of different products that would help with workflows, calendars, things like that. All things that work, that go in and people can just buy once and then have on their computer to do whatever they want with. Normally these sell really well as a bit of a niche product, so that's a good idea there. I'll throw some examples up as I'm talking as well at the same time. Okay, next up, 3D printing. 3D printing is great because it's quite versatile, and 3D printers in general, when they first came out, they were so expensive. Now they're coming down in price. I'm looking now, you could sort of get a affordable 3D printer for between £100 and £150, and you could make that money back quite easily if you have some nice ideas to go with it. You know how to do the 3D modeling aspect. It's all very interesting to work on, and it's a nice little project. I've seen people do, say, chess pieces. They've done D&D, so Dungeons and Dragons figures before. They've printed, say, bowls. They printed like sort of pet products, so different things to go in an aquarium, different things to go in a reptile enclosure, things like that for the animals to climb on and interact with. All pretty made out of this like really 3D printable layered plastic material. Okay, idea number 3 is looking at going into charity shops, picking up material, different fashion, so jumpers or jeans, and customizing them yourself. You could learn how to sew, how to add badges, how to add different bits of personality to the items that you like. And as soon as you get that style going, you could then sell them for 3 times the amount. With just a few little tweaks in there, you'll be surprised often when you go to charity shops and even say stalls and markets, you get some really good bargains. So you could triple your income just from making slight different creative tweaks to the items of clothing that you get, or the item of clothing that you may already have. Definitely something to look into. I'm not personally too into like my fashion and into my actual sewing of my fashion, so I don't know too much about it, but I've seen it work pretty well in other people's Etsy stores, their own brand. People have their own websites for stuff like this. If I see any examples, I'll throw them up as we go. But yeah, that's a really good idea. Next up is handmade candles. So candles can be made through wax, and you can get kits. You can buy kits to make your own candles and then sell them on. And if you have a specific scent that you want to add in there, maybe a unique scent, a completely unique scent, find ways to incorporate that and start your own little candle business. Why not? Like, that could be really cool. And I feel like it's quite profitable, especially if you're upselling it with other areas as well. Like there's so many different things you can incorporate within candles. You could have candles and say wax sticks. You could have candles and maybe some sort of air freshener product to go with it. There's different ways around it to be able to incorporate a scent business as a whole that would be really, really cool. You could make some really nice, like, themed on maybe different scents based on a movie character or a TV character or a book or a movie itself, like something like that. You can make sense around that. That could be a really cool idea. Okay, the next one is a branding company. Now, I've seen a lot of people go into this recently. Branding, if you can be good at it, is a really, really good area to be in. I'm a graphic designer myself. I've done a lot of brands for companies in the past, and it's competitive. But if you have a good way with people, which you can learn, if you have a good startup with the company, if you're professional about it, you know how to gain customers. I make the whole video on that separately, on how to gain clients separately. If you can do that, then that's a really good way to get into it. And yeah, so you could do a company's logos, you could do their social graphics. I did a video last week on Premier League graphics as a little example. So you could do work for, maybe in a larger scale, being a Premier League club, but you could do work for you could try and contact your local, maybe Sunday League team or lower league team if you want to get into sport, and that's just football I'm talking about, but maybe rugby team or say hockey team or something like that. Like, that's always a good idea if you wanted to get into the sports industry. That's always a nice idea. And that's not even just graphics. You could do that as a sports photographer or a sports videographer. They're all great things to get into. Okay, the next one is a event and party planning business. So this could be you could style this in two different ways. So you could style it in a more creative fashion, so specifically doing the invitations, the graphics, similar to the last one, but specifically on events. So banners, you could design balloons, you could design large scale bits of cards, stickers, things like that, which are only themed around that specific event. I think that's always a good idea. Maybe you could do weddings, you could do birthdays, you could do anniversaries, things like that, and create a little sort of way of incorporating that into a nice little package, maybe for that specific client that you have. So say you were doing a wedding, you'd have a wedding party box which had all the things they need, or maybe a whole package for a set amount. For weddings, you could charge a lot of money if you sorted it all out yourself and sourced it all yourself. You could literally have crates loads of stuff for an event with balloons, banners, all the information that you need about, maybe sort of, if it's weddings, for instance, as a main example, it could be sort of like dinner cards, things like that. All things that go into a wedding, you could design that whole thing for that client and then send it to them as a whole package, either source it yourself or work with the client themselves to find a source for them. There's a nice little profit there to be made, especially if you're doing weddings, because weddings are expensive. People will pay a lot of money for their wedding to look nice. So yeah. The next one is sort of stock footage and stock photos. So I've been a photographer and a videographer for the past 5 to 6 years, both in a full-time role but also in freelance work as well. There's so many websites that you can look at to sell and throw in your photos that you've taken, videos you've taken before, and they will just come out as passive income as people view your work, because they'll want to use that for their own video editing, their own thing. A lot of stock footage that YouTubers use will not have been made by them. It will be outsourced. So if you're a keen photographer, a keen videographer, then have a look at certain websites to do that. So websites like Adobe Stock, Getty Images, Shutterstock, they're all going to take your photos and videos. Now, there's different rules for each one, so have a look into that yourself. I might, again, make a whole new video on that separately, but that's definitely an area to look into if you're like me, who's really into taking photos, taking video all the time. Throw them on websites, because if people like them, they're going to buy them, and they're going to, and that will just go out of your account as you go, and really become a bit of passive income whilst you're actually working your 9 to 5. So it's definitely a good area to look into. Okay, and the final one that I've got for today's video is instructing and teaching. So I've been a photography teacher for the last year and a half. I do this on weekends. Usually every other weekend, I host 3 to 5 different photographers between the ages of, say, up to, oldest I think I've had is 90, youngest I've had is like 17, 18, and basically we'll meet at a location, and then I will go around to each of the different locations and teach them an element of photography. So I'll normally be out for about 2 to 3 hours on a Saturday normally, and I'll teach them the ins and outs of photography if it's a complete beginner class, but I will also go into more detail in other classes. I'll do, say, architectural photography, macro photography, things like that. Now, that's just an example, but there's other examples there. You could do the exact same as a videographer. You could do the exact same as a graphic designer, or a illustrator, for example, a video editor. See, the last 3 examples that I've just in there, they would just be more online classes, so you'd have to set up Zoom calls and things like that. Whereas mine example is a lot more personal. I'm actually physically going out to a location, meeting the people. So it swings and roundabouts for whatever you want to go for. I highly recommend this, especially if you're in a position now where you don't necessarily enjoy your job very much, because you're able to go out, meet new people, and really get a break from that on a Saturday. You can go out on a Saturday morning, spend 3 hours meeting people, talking about the thing that you love doing, and you can get paid for it. I think it's brilliant as a great example. So there we go. That's it. That's all 7 I've got there at the moment. I might do a part 2 on this. Just let me know how you think. I feel like there's so many different ways as creatives to just go out and do it. Like, treat yourself as your own boss. Do what you want to do. If you have that creative passion, then go and learn. Even if, say, for example, me, I said earlier, I have no experience in sort of the fashion, the sewing, sort of that realm of creativity, but I could very much go out and learn, and there's nothing stopping me. So go out, do what you want to do, and try and work that into either a side hustle and maybe eventually a small business that you can then leave your 9 to 5 and go full time with. Try your hardest and just go for it a little bit. Okay, I really hope you enjoyed. I hope that was fun. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a like. It really, really helps me out. And yeah, if you really enjoyed it, subscribe as well. That would be fun. And yeah, I will see you guys next week. In a bit.